Now, if you identify as mixed race, then you stand very little chance of advancing your career either in one, politics, two, sports, or three, entertainment. Right? The more black you are as a mixed race person, the more anti-white you are, the more chance you have of climbing the ladder, basically. Why is that? Because these institutions are what you call white liberal bastions, basically. And they give preference to mixed race people who follow the one drop rule, who identify as black. Well, there's several reasons why this happens, but I'll give you my experience I had when I went to work doing one of my side gigs in West LA one hot Saturday afternoon. Now, I arrived at the house and I was greeted by a white liberal couple. They were quite nice people. So they showed me the job, I got my tools, and I started working. It was I'd say about 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. And I heard it being opened, and the voices were raised in expectation, and they seemed pretty excited. I was thinking, who is this new guest that has arrived? It sounds like one of their friends who just won the lottery, to my mind. So they settled back down into the living room, and just out of sheer curiosity, I just had to know who this person was. So I poked my head round the door to get a glimpse of this visitor who'd come to visit them. And to my surprise, it was a mixed race guy. I thought nothing of it. I thought, oh, okay, they must be old friends. But then, as time went on, I started getting snippets of conversation coming from the other room. I heard about the slave trade, for 300 years of black people being slaves, Andrew Jackson, the Trail of Tears, It seemed like a whole history lesson on slavery, to be honest. And at one point, one of the couple offered him a very expensive bottle of Chardonnay. At this point, I was quite perturbed, you could say, because I'd been there working at least for an hour or so, and I hadn't even been offered a glass of water, right? Anyway, cut a long story short, I got fired from the job. They said I broke their table. Obviously, it was an accident. But it goes to show you how liberals prefer mixed race people who identify as black and how they seek to reinforce the one drop rule. So